Arnold, just to check on team news, Jeremy Frimpong, Chloe Verts, are they likely to be available?
Jeremy is trained with us a few times this week, so he is available. Don't expect Florian to be available, so yeah, that's a disappointment, of course. Every time when a player is not available is a disappointment, and also something that I didn't expect after last week. But yeah, that's sometimes how things can evolve, and unfortunately this time not in a positive way.
How is it looking for Florian? Have you got an idea as to how long?
No, at this moment of time, no. And usually when I say that I do have that, I do know that, but I don't want to share it. But now I honestly don't know.
No, it's just a real shame for really getting into a rhythm as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely. He has a rhythm, of course. It's in my opinion, already a big accomplishment of him that he stayed fit for such a long time, because he had to make a step from where he played towards Liverpool, towards the Premier League, and that he stayed fit all the time tells you a lot about the mentality and the work rate of a player and about the performance staff. But unfortunately, last week and this week he's not available, and that's indeed a disappointment for him, but definitely also for us, because he played really well lately.
We can build this up and say, obviously, you can go level on points with United. It's a chance to put pressure on them in the race for Champions League qualification. At least ask the question of them and ask them to respond to that. You could even go with a big win ahead of them as well. We can build it up like that. How do you see it?
The way I see it is that it's not a game for us, and we're not so focused on other teams, as all managers always say. We are mainly focused on ourselves, and we know that we need to win a lot of games, because our competitors for these Champions League places are very good teams as well, win a lot. So we know we have to win a lot as well, and that's where our focus is on. Not so much about points, gaps, all the differences, although we are aware of the league table, that's for sure.
It's a bit of a strange one, a strange stat this for Mo, because I appreciate obviously he scored against Karabakh, he scored in the FA Cup against Brighton as well, but it's 9 Premier League games since he last scored, and that was against Aston Villa on the 1st of November. What do you put that run down to when it comes to Mo? Because he's had opportunities obviously, but just at times not quite.
Yeah. He set his own standards, and those are so high that the moment when he doesn't score for a few games, people are immediately surprised. So that is only something that's probably the biggest compliment he can get. Yeah, and then with data you can use it in your advantage or your disadvantage. So not to use the FA Cup game if we play a Premier League side, you can argue if that is fair. But yeah, that's the way it works. If we want to highlight something really positive, we try to forget 1 or 2 games. If we want to highlight something really negative, we can try to forget 1 or 2 games as well. For me, I think it's quite recently, 3 games ago, that he had an assist and a goal against the Premier League side, Brighton. That's a very good Premier League team for so many years already. So that's a reality, and yeah, then you can change data and saying he did not score in 9 Premier League games. And that's the standard he set for himself. That's why people are surprised when things like that happen.
Just to go with that though, is he playing then at the level that you want him to be, or that he wants to be?
Nah, I think then I should go really detailed into his performances, and that's something we do together, and maybe it's not the place and time to do it over here. We are used to Mo scoring a lot of goals, and that's at this moment of time maybe the biggest difference in his performances or in his game time. But we also know, even in my time, this has happened before. I'm not exactly know if it happened 9 games in a row, but I've had these questions earlier. He didn't score for 3, he didn't score for 5, or I don't know exact numbers. But I also know that in the end, he always starts scoring again. And that's the challenge he has now and we have now, to make sure he starts scoring again, because he's not our only attacker that at this moment of time doesn't score as much as we are used to of our attackers. So it's not only the focus, he deserved that, is totally on him because of everything he did for the club. but Hugo and Cody haven't scored that many goals recently as well. So it's again a team thing that we have to improve. The good thing is that we keep clean sheets, so that means they don't need to score that many. Although against Karabakh we scored 6, and there was another game that we scored 4. I don't even remember, but which one? Newcastle. Oh, yeah.
Well,
So.
let's go to the end of the pitch then, shall we? Talk about that. Back-to-back 1-0 wins. Alisson actually made his debut against West Ham. We were talking about that before, just more than 7 years ago since he did that. Just to talk about him, I suppose, how important is he still for you right now and in terms of his future here at Liverpool?
Now, in an ideal world, you don't need your goalkeeper. So that means you defend so well that you don't need a goalkeeper that makes important saves for you. But the good thing for us is, if we do need a goalkeeper, we have an outstanding one. And we already have him now for 7 years, which he just told me. 7 years ago he made his debut. And the good thing is that we not only have one good goalkeeper, we have with Georgi Mamadashvili also a goalkeeper that could be a number 1. So this club is in a really good place when it comes to goalkeepers, and has been for so many years, because before Georgi was there we had Queef, and he did really well for us, and now for Brentford. So but Ali has always been the number 1, and that tells you how good he is if he can keep Queef and Georgi behind him. And so yeah, we needed him once against Forest after 3 minutes, and again he was there for us.
Arne, I was going to ask you what you're expecting from West Ham, but I guess after playing a team at the near the bottom of the table last week against Nottingham Forest, we saw how tough that game was. I'm guessing you're expecting the same this weekend.
Yeah, because data sometimes tells you something that's right, and sometimes you can manipulate it. But I cannot manipulate the fact that we struggled a lot against the teams that promoted: Burnley at home, Leeds at home. I probably forget 1 or 2. So we understand at this moment of time how difficult winning games in general is. Doesn't matter where they're positioned in the league table. That's the current Premier League, but that's not only for us. I watch a lot of games, as any manager does. Before you play a team, you watch 4 or 5 games, or maybe sometimes more, sometimes a little bit less. And I can tell you that we're not the only team that sometimes plays a half of football that we played in the first half against Forest. But that's also the quality you face. It is also, you have to give credits to Forest for the way they played in the first half, and that is new reality in the Premier League probably for the last 1, 2, 3 years. Before that was maybe a bit more obvious which were the top teams, and they would always beat the others. Recently you see a change in that, and that has probably a lot to do with all the money that goes into the league, and that these teams also have owners who can spend a lot of money.
You won at West Ham earlier this season. How significant was that win, if you think back to it? Because I think it came after a run of defeats, and then that win seemed to sort of settle you down, and you went on a good run after that.
Yeah, I don't only think that it came after a run of bad results, but it came after a run of a lot of bad results, where a few of them were very unlucky. I think it was the game after we played Leeds away, where we were 2-0 up, 3-2 up. So, but yeah, that has been our whole season. But it was an important win over there. A good win. We played well, as we did so many times. But this time it also resulted in a win. And from that moment onwards, we've only lost twice, and twice was in extra time. But that's not something new for us this season. But the good thing is, last week, of course, we scored in extra time. So maybe things have changed, finally.
There's been a lot of focus on Rio after his substitute performance at Forest the weekend. He's not started a Premier League game this season, so I'm just wondering how much closer is he to getting to that point, and what does he need to do to try and sort of achieve that?
Yeah, another great example how you can manipulate data. Only talking about Premier League games, not talking about FA Cup, League Cup, and Champions League. So only taking that and then say he only played 90 minutes Premier League. Where I think if you want to be more realistic, or you just tell the truth. That's sometimes nice as well. Then you see that his playing time has improved massively over the last few weeks. And that's the reason for that, because he developed. He became a better player. And I think it's only very positive that people start to talk about him, because that tells you that he does really well. And I would love people to talk about all the players I have on the bench like that, because that means every time I bring them in, they do really well. And that's something we like. And it's another example of a player that developed in the last 6, 7 or 8 months towards a player that people want to see more and more. And the same goes for me, because I play him more and more recently. And that's all due to the fact that he does well when he comes in. And of course, the highlight was completely on his great 1v1 action. And it should be, because I've said here many times telling how difficult it is to beat 1-on-1 and how important that is in football. But he had a few other actions in that game as well, a few other moments in that game as well, where we also talk about, and where maybe pundits don't talk about that much. But that's part of development of a player, and I really like where he's at the moment, where he is in his development. And I would be surprised if he stays fit, if not more minutes will come in the near future.
Hi, Arne. I wanted to ask you about Kerkez, because you took him off in the final minutes against Forest. Was it a physical issue, something with his performance, or just a tactical change? But most importantly, can any of this affect his involvement against this team?
Can
Any of this?
No, he was completely fit. No, he was completely fit. He played already 80 minutes, and we had to defend quite a bit in the first half. So I brought a fresh player in, and that's also a very good player with Robertson. I changed my both wingers, and I changed both fullbacks hopefully to get that fresh energy for the last 10 to 15 minutes. And that's the good thing about having more than 11 players. And if I'm able to make that changes, not in every position I can make those changes, but if I can, and I think it's necessary, I do so. But Milos played an okay game, and he's available for tomorrow.
There's obviously been quite a lot of late drama in your games this season, and in terms of goals in the second halves, there's a big difference to goals in the first half. I think your second goals in the second half. In terms of sort of maybe starting games a bit more slowly, what do you put that down to? Is it the opposition? Is it the approach? What do you sort of put that down to?
That's never the approach. If you would just look our game backs, you never see us dropping into a low block, which so many teams in the Premier League do. But we never do. Now, if I say never, then people can find one example maybe. But every time we try to press for 90 minutes as high as possible, and when we have the ball, we try to create. But that's sometimes difficult against teams that play in a certain style. I will not describe that style, because and as a result of that, you usually see a second half being a bit more open. Why? Because both teams get a bit more tired, and that can sometimes lead to gaps or openings, and then all of a sudden we can then score our goals. But it's never down to our approach. We've seen many times when we played, for example, at Anfield, that the approach of the other team. So when I had to play at Anfield, when I was at Feyenoord or another club, and I never played here, I would 100% tell my players, try to slow the game down in the first 15 to 20 minutes, because you don't want the fans to go behind the team. So take your time in throw-ins, take your time in set pieces, do all the things to slow it down, to calm the fans down. And that's what I think I see other teams trying to do as well, which is completely fair. And it's up to us to still find moments when we then have the ball to be able to create. But that is against a team that is completely fit, ready to compete, more difficult than after 70 minutes when the other team is maybe a bit more tired.
Hi Arne, I wanted to ask you about Hugo Ekitike. You scored 2 headed goals so far this season, but going right back to the first game in the Community Shield, you had quite a few opportunities to maybe increase that talent. I wonder, considering the improved safety guidelines around heading in training and things like that, Is it more difficult in the modern era for a player to improve quickly in that particular area?
No, I don't think so. It's right. It's true that when I played, and that's a long time ago, we probably had some time. There was a ball hanging on a row, and you had to add that ball 150 times to try to work on your technique. I think modern ways of training would probably not use that anymore because it's so isolated that you can argue if you can improve in that manner. But it is true that what you are noticing, we are noticing as well. And he notices this himself also. And I'm working with players that always want to develop. So this is one of his points that he wants and tries to develop, and where we do work on. Not every single day, because that's not possible for other reasons than safety cards. But it's a part of his game that but also he himself wants to develop. Because he could have scored a few more goals indeed if he would have been better in that part of the game. But being 22, 23, I think it's quite normal that there are always parts of the game that you can improve. And this for him is one of them.